Hello, welcome, and this is my newest video, and I am sorry that I'm not speaking in my foreign language, but if I will speak Czech, nobody will watch it, nor will nobody understand it. And this video is made in English for a particular reason, and the reason is that I would like to reintroduce to you the Uno Turbo, the original hot hatch. I think much better than, well, nobody actually explains. I never found it on the Top Gear, on the Fifth Gear, or on any other car magazine, on the YouTube, or also on other platforms. So that's why today I would like to remind you how good is this car and why it's a big shame that it's forgotten. Fiat Uno was made in 1983, and in 1985 there was made first Uno Turbo. This is the second model, but I would like to talk about first one. The Uno Turbo was the reaction for the Golf GTI, which then was quite strong and one of the first hot hatches ever made. Even that's not quite true, because in Italy there exists Ritmo 125 TC and 130 TC. In France exists various Peugeots. In Japan there was always Honda. So there was not quite true that the first hot hatch, as many European journalists say, was the Golf GTI. And I think the proper hot hatch was actually the Uno Turbo, because it has one big advantage under the bonnet, and I will show you which one. Despite its bigger colleagues, this hot hatch has just 1.3 liter engine, but there is additional turbocharger in it. Okay, so originally the Uno Turbo supposed to be more powerful. It should have around 120 brake horsepower, and 1.3 liter was due to the Italian regulations on the highways and also for the taxis. So that's why they choose 1.3 liter instead of 2 liter engine that originally they had in the Ritmo TC. So 1.3 liter, okay, you say 120 brake horsepower, that's not so great, and the thing gets much worse, because due to the overboosting and due to the emission regulations, they have to reduce the turbo pressure from 0.9 to 0.65 bar. So the final power was 105 brake horsepower. Well, it gets more worse, because then they have to reduce it even more due to the catalytic converter, so it then produced 100 brake horsepower. And just now you can mention that even the original Golf GTI was more powerful than this one. Well, if you say so. Well, I know what you think. You think this car is actually same as today's 1.4 liter. Well, it isn't, because its weight just under 900 kilograms. And there is also something to be mentioned, and it's a torque. And it had quite a lot of it. Over 150 Newton meters back in 90s in such a light car was quite a bargain. And even 2 liter engines couldn't manage it. And because of the turbo, the torque was at very low RPMs. Because the Japanese turbo that was originally mounted on this engine sped up from 1700 RPMs, so 2500 RPMs you can get full boost, and that was quite annoying. But I mean, for a Golf and for the Honda as well. Also, if we are talking about the tuning, well, it was quite easy, because this just had 2 ECU, one for ignition and one for the injection. So you can tweak it up just at the spring onto the turbo. So then you can get over 130 brake horsepower and nearly 200 Newton meters of torque. And again, if we compare the power to weight ratio, well, you are far ahead of other hot hatches back then. 3 years ago, in this particular car, on this particular engine, which is not completely stock, I had turbo from Nissan Skyline, injectors from Fiat Coupe, 2-liter turbo, and I managed to get quarter mile in 13.7 seconds, which is, well, like new Audi RS6, well, something like this. 0 to 100 in 5.1 seconds. And I have to mention that engine is inside completely stock. There are stock pistons, stock rods, stock crankshaft. Even the gearbox is stock, because this gearbox can handle up to 350 Newton meters. And I think no other hot hatch can manage that. Well, maybe apart from Honda if you turbocharge it, maybe. Well, enough of talking, and let's see how this car actually goes. Over the years, I have to say that Uno Turbo is very interesting still today. It's faster than other small hot hatches, and still I think even today it's more reliable. I was really sad when I watched all Top Gear movies when Jeremy, Richard and James mentioned their original cars, and they bought cars like Corsa, which was not even fast, or something like that. Jeremy mentioned Golf 1 GTI, which was even 8 valves, which was very slow. But actually this car was much faster, and it was produced from 1985. So this car is quite old. Still think that even in 2022, this car is pretty drivable and pretty brisk. Before turbocharging was popular, this and Renault 5 GT Turbo was actually the first car, small hot hatches, that used the turbo in the mass production, and Italians weren't afraid of it. And that's why I don't understand why nobody from the big league, and I'm just now talking about fifth gear or top gear, or the bigger YouTubers mainly in Europe, why nobody's talking about it? Well, the Uno Turbo is a precious treasure of Italians, and as everybody knows, Italians completely forgot about speaking English. So for them, this is icon. But we are in the Czech Republic, and in Czech Republic everybody prefers Skoda. Even the Skoda was at 90s, it was rubbish. If you want to go to a hill, well, you have to at first decide if you can go up to hill. Well, with this car, you don't need any decision. Fuel consumption and also economy was much better. Even they have a turbo engine in it. The average fuel consumption was about 8 liters per 100 kilometers. This was not a lot in 90s, when the internal combustion wasn't optimized as well. There was no strictly stupid European emission regulations. So this car has just simple catalytic converter. And if I don't want to exceed speed limit on public road, it does cost quite a lot in 2022 if it's in the condition like this. And I'm just not talking about a car that was left somewhere behind several years and then somebody just polished it. We are just now talking about 15,000 to 20,000 euro, which is quite a lot for a small hot hatch. Even it's based on a basic Fiat Uno. There are several modifications. The brakes, the suspension, well, and that's it. And they just built it on a small hatch that was supposed for the shopping, and it worked.